Hey, everybody, welcome back to Unlearn with Bianca. On this podcast, we explore everything around self healing, health, personal growth, the mind body connection, relationships, and more. Today, I'm speaking with Naturopath, Herbalist, and Nutritionist Sharland. Caitlin helps people find the root cause of symptoms, and she's going to be educating us today from a holistic perspective on gut, on skin, thyroid, fertility, postpartum, all the things. Welcome, Caitlin.
Hello, thank you for having me, Bianca.
My pleasure. I'm really excited about today's conversation. So let's just get right into it. Would you like to share with us a little bit about yourself and what has led you on this path into being really passionate about women's health?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I am a naturopath, a medical herbalist, and a nutritionist. And what I do is I work one-on-one with my clients, and I see a lot of clients that have sort of gone through the medical system. They're looking for answers. They still feel unwell, and then we connect together. I sort of will do a full rundown, connect the dots, and then support them with a personalized health plan that's like catered to them. And in my journey, I find that a really big factor within health is always the mind body connection, the internal parts, the brain essentially. Like, what is the mind doing? How is it connecting to the body? Inner child belief, all of that stuff, all that good stuff that makes up somebody. So I really like to sort of encompass that in with the supplement, nutrition, lifestyle, etc. So that's a big part of how I practice.
Yes, and I can't wait to delve into that because that is when you reached out and we started talking about beliefs and that side of things, because so often people start with the physical, which is so important, fueling the body, doing all the baseline things. And often the missing link is actually looking deeper at more the emotional and mental patterns as well. So we will talk into that. Was there a specific experience or time in your life that really led you into this work, if you want to share on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had quite a lot of reproductive health concerns. I used to always get ovarian cysts, very heavy, painful period. I had cystic acne, and then I went through my own fertility journey where I just couldn't get pregnant. I'd go to the doctor. They would say your tests are all normal, except I had an inner knowing that it wasn't normal. And so I started researching, looking about my body, digging a bit deeper to see what is actually going on because I know these are just signs from my body. I've always been quite an intuitive and tuned person. Um, and then it also led me into diving in what's internally happening for me. And I feel like the thing that moved the needle was that self belief, changing belief patterns. I would do a lot of personal work because I had quite a lot of trauma growing up as a child. And I felt like I carried that in my pelvis area, that connection with reproductive issues and trauma is such a big link. And I felt like once I actually started to navigate all those issues, my health symptoms actually started to dissipate. And then I just found this real beautiful connection by if you support the spiritual, emotional, physical aspects, you can really shift the needle. And I think people really underestimate what the body is capable of. I feel like when doctors and GPs say a diagnosis or people hold on to a diagnosis, it almost is like it rewires the brain just to thinking that there's nothing else possible and this is it. Whereas I like to sit with clients, retrain the brain, talk about different aspects. Self belief is such a big one. And I see a lot in young women that we kind of be kind or gentle with ourselves or tell ourselves that we love ourselves or we're so self-critical.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
supporting people in that way as well is like a huge shift. So yeah, that's how I
Mm.
sort of come to be a naturopath that has a more energetic, a more feminine way of looking at functional medicine.
Wow, there's so much there that I want to speak on. I think the first thing that really stood out to me was the fact that, when you were trying to conceive and it wasn't happening and you'd run all the tests, because I'm sure there's people listening that have had that same experience. So just to help people connect to your story, what sort of things were you getting told? That it just wasn't possible? Was it, we don't know what's happening? Was there anything that stood out?
From the age of 15, I got told that I would need IVF if I ever wanted to have a child, that I would never be able to carry a child because I have a thing called a bicornuate uterus. So it's basically like a septum down the center of my uterus, and I had some other stuff going on. But I just never believed that I've had this inner knowing that my body, I would carry a child. So that sort of like conversation with GPs. And then I also, after I've had my first daughter, I had intensive scarring, a lot of blood loss, a lot of damage. And then they were like, there's absolutely no way. Like, we've seen your scans, there's no way it's going to be possible. And then I was like, no, I know my body, I supported my body. And then I conceived my son on my first try after like a whole year of infertility, multiple miscarriages when I was like following the mainstream medical system of like, no, we've checked your hormones, they're all correct, they're all fine, there's nothing wrong with you. But then what I know now, when I would like reflect back, I was like, A, you didn't tell me when to actually get my progesterone tested, which is like, or there's actually certain days and times that you actually need to know when to go have a look at your blood markers so you can see if they're out of range. And then also with that whole functional values, we naturopaths look at it optimal because it's such a large value scale. And if you're having symptoms and your body's showing you signs of like recurrent miscarriage, you're getting acne, you're getting irregular heavy periods, that's a sign that your body is not in a state of balance.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
totally. Excuse me. Totally. And I think that's the thing when tests come back normal, that range is so big. Not only I've had that experience, and not only it's like for all the knowledge I have, confusing as to know where to go next.
yeah,
Appointments cost a lot. You can feel like you're just another number in the system. So I think by the sounds of it, your approach is very personalized and also dealing with a whole other element that's often left out of the picture. So you were told those beliefs and you were told the news that you likely wouldn't be able to conceive.
yeah,
Thank God that you had that intuitive knowing because it's something that I often speak on a lot is that when we're not in a strong place in ourselves or when we don't have support or when we've tried 1,000 different things and we're constantly told news that isn't very supportive, that can really get into our subconscious and our beliefs then drive our physiology and it puts our body into that stress response. So I think you said something really powerful there of there's just that inner knowing not to take on something as fact and start actually questioning and tuning into yourself. What did that look like for you? Because obviously you've gone on to conceive. I think you've got
but
3 children.
yeah.
Beautiful. Uh, that process in your own words and how much detail you wanna go into of looking at the emotional, looking at the belief system, how did that look for you?
Yeah, so I knew that I was really in my masculine. I was a very masculine doer. I had this like self belief that you couldn't rely on anyone and it was up to me. And I was always just like, would never step back into that feminine. And that I was very headstrong. And that's all I really knew because growing up, I had like the father figure or the masculine energy in my life wasn't really there. Um, and I saw my mum being such a strong doer, and she was providing for 4 kids, and she was doing all the things and never rely on anybody else. That's what my inner belief was as an inner child. And then I just think once I was doing that so much, I was having all these symptoms. I wasn't really addressing what's going on. And then it wasn't until, and this is what I talk about with my clients all the time, it's almost like fertility is a mirror to what you need to start healing before you get that baby. And it's almost like that inner working you need to work on so you can be the mum you want to be. And I realized on that journey, it's a really self discovery journey that I wasn't allowing anybody in, that I was. Essentially setting my body up to think it wasn't safe to settle, to soft, to do all those things. So what I started to do was EFT tapping, which is really powerful, and just constantly, like, repetitively saying, like, one-line phrases to make my body go into a sense of safety. I was journaling a lot. So what was I holding? How was I feeling? I had a lot of hurt and pain there, and I would know that I was holding it in my pelvis. So I started to release that. And then I just had this like self positive talk saying that when I get pregnant, I will be pregnant, like changing the narrative of like, I don't know if I can get pregnant. I don't know. Like being very sure of my body and giving it the confidence. And I think that was the really powerful thing that I actually started to heal from a lot of that masculine energy. My relationship with my husband improved because I allowed him to help me more. I took a step back, and it was that really nice dance between masculine and feminine. I do believe you need a good balance of both. But when you can drop back, it almost was like I could take a breath for a minute and be like, it's not all on my shoulders. Like, it's okay to let someone help you. And it just opened me up to a whole other way of thinking. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, I think that's just a really powerful part in fertility that if you look at it, everyone's such doers and like, I've got to do the IVF or I've got to do this isn't working, I've got to take this supplement. And they're not really taking a step back to like say internally, what is my body trying to tell me? What is lacking? What is missing? Like actually asking themselves those sorts of questions.
Mm.
And once they can sort of work on that inner knowing, everything shifts more powerfully because their body's more in line. It's just like softens into safety. And that's what I see so much in clinic.
Yeah, it's super interesting, isn't it? And I think that's a massive energetic shift. I haven't to this point been trying for a child, but I can imagine when you're going through infertility and learning from friends and a lot of people I know moving through that, there's a lot of grief and there's a lot of course, a lot of grief, a lot of emotions. And those feelings can cause us to push harder and to internalize a lot of these feelings and drive things more and do everything you can. And it's like almost the chronic illness journey at the same time. People get so into I need to be well, I hate where I'm currently at, that there's naturally this force of like, what's the next thing? What can I do next? Have I missed out on something? I haven't tried this. And it's this constant grasping and searching to get to what you want. But that in turn creates a lot of stress on the system because you're always on to the next thing. You're always forcing, and it loops us back into that masculine energy. And for
Yeah,
listeners who are like, what is this masculine, feminine? I've done multiple podcasts on masculine, feminine. So
yeah,
go back through all of them and have a look. But it's really about being in your doing energy versus your being energy. And as humans, we all have both energies within. But something that you said really stood out to me is not having that male figure and then perhaps becoming that masculine for yourself because you need it to be. And that then becoming that habitual mindset. And
yeah.
naturally, of course, you're going to show up like that if you've had no awareness around that previously.
Yeah, and I see it a lot with PCOS women. So if you think about PCOS and like the profile of PCOS, it's high androgens, high testosterone, that masculine. It's a very masculine condition where the body feels unsafe, and they've stepped into their masculine, and it presents that way. So a lot of the times, if you work on that, you can see those markers come down. Also, autoimmunity, like feeling like you've got to be the good girl, you can't. Express your emotions. It's that inner keeping the peace, like quiet suppression. So much link there with like different types of conditions and energy types. And when you go into the energy profile and read it and then put it towards yourself, you actually be like, yeah, I do really fit that mold without just looking at like the symptom picture and what everyone looks at the surface. When you go underneath, it does paint a big picture. And with like what you were saying about chronic health conditions, a lot of the time people were actually scared to heal. Like people were scared because that's their identity. That's all they know. And that's what the narrative they've told themselves for years, that that's their picture. And it's like, well, what do I talk about with people if it's not my condition? And then I always pose the question, do you actually want to heal? Do you want to feel better? Like ask yourself these questions, because if this is all you've known day to day for 5+ years, it's quite scary to flip the page into a new version of you, because it's like, well, what does that look like? How does that feel? How will I be? Because this is all I've ever known.
Completely. It's also foreign because people are so I said this on the last podcast, they're so in the process of trying to heal and trying to get rid of something that they don't actually connect to possibilities and what if I healed, how would life look like? They don't have a picture of that because it's, taking up a lot of energy with the condition. But you're absolutely right. Like that is a hard truth, but it is a real truth that people subconsciously block themselves for having what they want because that would actually mean that they'd have to address different things in their life. And I see that a lot with my clients, and sometimes I have to have that conversation. Often it's around relationships, and if someone gets well, then how would that change the relationship dynamic? It can be that people need to go back to work. It can be that, new things pop in, and we all do this to some degree with what we want. That's why we don't often have what we want as fast as it can happen. We need to figure out, if I was to truly get what I want, if I was truly be well, what kind of version of me would I need to be to have that and feel safe in that?
Yeah, 100%. It is applicable to all areas, so you're totally right with that.
Mhm, mhm. So you started to do the inner work and things started to shift. Did you notice shifts in your body as well and how you felt emotionally, mentally?
Yeah, 100%. I would always get these like ovarian cysts that would be really painful. They'd get really big and they would rupture. I would have like a lot of issues around that. And once I started to address like some like trauma around like sexual abuse and issues with my dad and stuff, once I had actually done that, I didn't get them. And it's like, it's crazy because like I 100% believe it is all that inner work. I did a lot of, and I didn't do therapy. Like, I think therapy looks so different in different people, and talk therapy isn't something that I have done. If it works for you, it's great, but I think you just need to find that inner thing that actually helps you. So for me, it's more like body movement, like somatic breathing. I did that and I felt like a release and energy shift. It was journaling, just letting out my thoughts. I did kinesiology. So I did lots of different modalities that I felt like hit different spots in my body. And it's like that onion, right? You start on the surface and you get deeper and deeper. And once you start peeling it back, you notice more shifts. And it's almost like once you're ready for the next layer, it will come up. You'll get triggered by something, something will happen. And I know like I had done the healing, A, from like a body mind perspective because I wasn't getting the ovarian shifts, but two, because I was able to express to the people that had hurt me how it made me feel, what it made me feel. And I knew that I had completed that cycle of healing because I'm quite comfortable to talk about it, I'm not ashamed about it, like all of those sorts of things. And another thing that I had was POTS, which is postural tachycardic syndrome. So I get palpitations, I would have fainting episodes,
Mhm.
getting really fatigued and exhausted. And after doing a lot of healing work and the inner work, but also like there's such a connection with hormones and that sort of thing, I was able to not have any attacks. I wasn't hospitalized anymore. And I just feel really good. And I fully believe like the body is so capable of healing if you just give it the right tools. And it's not just one and the other, it's not this or that. It's almost like you just need to have a combination of things that work for you as an individual. And that's why I love naturopathy so much because when you sit with a person, you can connect with them and what they need at that time to start the healing journey. It's not just looking on social media, oh, this is going to help you or this is going to work. Because I think then people get too confused and they try everything and then they think nothing's working, but they haven't really sat with themselves to be like, what does my body need to heal?
Yeah, it's a big question, isn't it? A lot of what you're saying so resonates with me with the POTS and all these symptoms. I've been doing this for decades, but it's still a question sometimes of stopping, pausing. What do I need in this moment? Sometimes I'm still like, I don't even know. It's this constant learning to be on your body's side and learning to cultivate this relationship with yourself. And you have to quieten down enough to hear the whispers, because if you're just pushing through, if you're in a busy season and you don't do that, you can really lose that connection to understanding what direction you need to take. What I'm trying to say here is it's not a one and done thing. It may look so different from one season to the next. You said about how do I say that? Naturopathy.
Yeah,
Cool. And I'm curious to know more about it.
yeah.
And obviously, as you'll see, you work a lot with the emotions and the deeper layers, but there must have been a part of your journey where herbalism, nutrition came into that as well.
Yeah, a big part. So I actually studied for 7 years. I did back-to-back degrees. So I did a degree in health science, and then I did my bachelor's in natural medicine. And like I said, you need a combination of things. So the nutrition is such a big part, and it's the fundamental. So if you have really good nutrition, you can move the needle. You don't need all these fancy supplements. Like nature food, herbs are just awesome at being able to sort of support your body. And if you think about it, if you don't eat well, you feel crap. If you eat better, move your body, all like the fundamentals, people sort of pass by just to take a quick fix. It's almost like, no, your body deserves that slow movement, and then that's gonna make a big deal. I think people go for the big, "Oh, just grab this supplement to fix this symptom." But naturopathy doesn't work that way. We really work on the principle small, tangible changes lead to those big health goals. And it's like we're just wanting to create a habit that like forms. So you're doing small changes to create that habit to go to that big health goal. So that may be like, for example, we were talking about coffee this morning, eating your protein breakfast before you have your coffee. It's like all those little things that are changes and make you feel well. Maybe not straight away, but in a month you will notice that. And then with my degree, what I'm able to do is like I give my clients goals. So we do SMART goals. I'll do 3 dietary goals. So around their condition, what they need support in, where I think that that is causing an imbalance. Then I do the lifestyle goals, which is bringing in like lots of those tangible things that can change neuroplasticity or self belief, like all of that sort of stuff is in there. And then I will cater a herbal tonic to the client. So with herbs, they're amazing because you can do lots of different body systems in this one bottle and they work synergistically with each other. They taste disgusting. I always like tell my clients like they're horrendous, but they work perfectly. I just think there's something about nature and connecting with you again. They just can do things that other supplements or nutraceuticals can't do. Um, and if you think we are nature, like our body like disconnects with it so much. So what I will do is utilize different herbs that have different actions, but they also have energetic profiles too. And I sort of everyone does things differently, but for me, as you could probably tell, I'm quite a intuitive, energetic practitioner. So I really bring that energetic compass into how I formulate because I think that just makes the biggest shift. And then I will always um, energetically imprint my herbal tonic so that it's sort of like, when you're around someone and you just feel good vibes, good energy, and it's contagious, like that sort of thing. If you have like really good intentions and energy behind a product or something, I feel like that helps to sort of shift as well. So I do all of that sort of stuff for my clients.
I love that. Yeah, it's something that not enough people consider, and I only started thinking about it recently when my friend was praying over food when I was over here, and I was like, "Man, I really need to start being mindful and, like, connecting into." Because we live in such a fast-paced society, we don't connect into where things are from and what kinda energy is behind them, so I think that's really beautiful.
It's big with the food because I think just with, like, the fast pace, like you're saying, people don't actually think of the process of getting to your plate or, like, how farmers are out there, they're working hard to provide or, like, this around whole food wastage and all of that sort of stuff. It's like we're just so conditioned now that everything is instant, and it's like a downfall because then people can lead to digestive issues because they're just swarming their food down. They're not thinking about what they're eating. They're not mindfully eating. And I see so many people with gut issues, and I'm like, if you think about how you ate your meal, were you on your phone, just scoffing it down? Were you actually like sending the signals to your brain to
Mhm.
digestive process? Because that can do so much. Like sitting, chewing your food, getting those digestive enzymes starting to work to break it down. Then you don't get the bloating. You're actually mindful. Your body feels like rest and digest. Like it's all those fundamentals people forget.
Yeah, it's the simple things that, like you said, really move the needle.
Yeah.
What kind of, symptoms or people are you seeing the most or consistently at the moment? Because I feel like there are themes that come through with clients, and that might change from, year to year, but what are you seeing at the moment?
So I see a lot of thyroid conditions, so a lot of autoimmune conditions, thyroid conditions, a lot of infertility, and a lot of like reproductive health is health like PCOS or endo. So a lot of stuff around that spectrum. Um, and I think it just buys into I'm the right practitioner for them because there's a lot of like energetic components that they need to reach for, like how I said about a lot of people that have thyroid conditions, suppressed anger, that not being able to speak their truth, all of that sort of stuff. And then with endo and PCOS, endo is actually a real immune system condition. It is like classes like a hormonal condition, but when you look at the immune system, it's almost like there's another energetic component within that. And then the fertility, I just really work with my clients that have struggled to get pregnant, say multiple. and it's just not working for them. So I really,
Mhm.
um, you get the practitioner you're meant to have and the client you're meant to have because there's a reason and a season for it, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, you can probably hear my coffee machine in the background. Um, I'd love to just explore endo a little bit more. Definitely seen clients with endometriosis diagnosis and adenomyosis. Is it? Yeah, and I truly believe that pain is not something we need to live with consistently. But the energetic component of endometriosis, what do you see, or what connections do you make there?
Yeah, so, with endo, it's honestly like a whole body condition. It's a really big inflammatory, angry condition. It's sort of spread the body. The body does it. The immune system's supposed to support you, but it almost goes opposed. So it's almost like it's fighting against you, and that's
Mhm.
how it starts to grow in places it shouldn't grow.
Mhm.
And what I see energetically with endo, it's almost like that we're not it's like a mirror, internal mirror that we're not showing up to ourselves the way that we should be presenting ourselves. It's like we're suppressing and it's internally shutting down our immune system and we're sort of holding it all in rather than expressing. And if you think about like the cycle of your hormones, I was thinking about this morning because I saw this video about um, the OCP pill, so the oral contraceptive pill, and how it suppresses your hormones. So you literally flatline. You're not having the highs and the peaks that you usually should have. And I was thinking about it, and this is a little bit controversial, but I was thinking like, what if like you actually got prescribed the pill to dull down your potential, to dull woman's potential? Because if you think about the peak before your ovulatory phases where your estrogen's at your highest, you're more creative, you're more intuitive, you're more a doer. Then in the second half of your cycle, this is when you can really hear those whispers. It's almost like what's happening within your body. Like it tells you what's going on. It's a softness, a stillness. It's that fluctuation. But when you're on the pill, that just flatlines. So you don't actually get to know those different parts of yourself that can strengthen you and actually make you move forward. And it also changes your brain structure. And so you're actually not who you're actually meant to be while you're on the pill. And that's why so many people feel so different off the pill because it's
Absolutely.
their natural being, who they're attracted to, everything around that.
It's a whole other conversation. It's come up in a few, and I'm really passionate about it as well because,
Yeah,
yeah, I was probably like a lot of women listening, that person that got put on the pill at 15, 16, for a few reasons, one of them being hormonal acne, and then
yeah,
uh, for years and years and years. And when I came off it, it was like, oh, I have feelings, negative and positive, but like I can feel. It was a whole lot of different things, and it's crazy. And I would, you said controversial, but don't put anything past these
yeah.
days. Like, let's be real.
You see this video, you're like, "Why are we going back to, like, old school?" Because it was literally like wellness influencers pose natural remedies as a way and doctors are scared people get pregnant, and I'm like, "Stop fear-mongering with this whole pregnancy narrative when you haven't even taught our young that you can only get pregnant within your fertility window," and, like, it just leads to all those other misconceptions around your cycle and that you shouldn't be talking about hormones and yeah, I just think it's a disservice to our all women really.
I think there's a lot shifting in women's health, and there's lots of people speaking on menopause, perimenopause, health conditions, and there's this rise in the feminine,
Yeah,
which is happening. And I had a condition called vulvodynia, which is a pelvic pain condition,
yeah,
um, over a decade ago, and it was the most shameful, embarrassing thing. No one knew about it. No one had heard about it. I was finding these forums deep online because it's just not something that was discussed. Whereas now, it's easy to find information about all of these conditions.
yeah,
So it's so good to see that things are shifting and changing.
yeah,
And I think it can only be beneficial for women as we start to tap into our power, which sometimes is soft power. It's not always, like you said, what we've been led to believe is powerful.
yeah, yeah. I think like we look at the masculine men and think you've got to like shout and be authoritative, but like there's so much power in the softness and the stillness and the connection and energetics and that power that can't be explained.
Yeah. Sorry, you got me on a this is what happens when you speak to me. I really go into tangent. It's also in males as well. Feminine energy is actually important to a degree because it's something that's been neglected in society. People being able to actually look at and understand their emotions, and that soft side, it is needed everywhere. It is what is needed on this earth. So I think what we're seeing in medicine and in health is just reflective of where society's at and what is going to be valued in the near future.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm. So, endometriosis, thyroids, I loved what you said about thyroids there because I completely agree on that one. I think anything around throat, even myself, when I get this dry cough consistently, rather than like, what do I need to take for that? My first question is always, where am I not setting a boundary or speaking my truth?
Yeah, yeah, that's a huge one.
How do people respond when you tell them that, though? I'm curious because it's quite a confrontational thing. Hey, look, I sense you're going through some thyroid stuff. Have you ever connected this to you not speaking up? Do people take it well?
They do take it well, and I think it's the way that I pose my consultation. I make it a really safe space, and I don't push the client until they're ready to be pushed. I don't it's that whole theoretic, spectrum of change, right? Like, you're either ready for change and you wanna hit it hard, or you're quite not there and you're contemplating the idea, you're, like, talking about it. So I gauge where my client's at, but I also invite them to actually say it, that they connect the dots. It's not me telling them, it's them telling me. So I will ask them about their childhood, I will, like, ask them questions, and then they will usually say, yeah, I felt like always had to shut down and keep the peace or not speak it. And then I said, so in a session, like in an essence, you've suppressed your voice to keep other people happy, or like it'll be posed that way. Like, I'll never say directly like this is what you're doing, because I want them to tell me their story. I'm there as a them just to talk to me. I'm there to be open, to tell their story, to feel heard, seen, etc. So it's really about them and the space that they're in, and not really about me. I'm just the navigator for them.
Totally, totally. Because we talked about that when we first had our intro call about how important it can be and healing it can be for someone just to be heard. I
Yeah,
think we don't realize that. And as practitioners, sometimes I get into the feeling of responsibility of like, people have come to me to help them and where am I responsible? But really, what I've learned over time is that people having a safe place is one of the most healing things any of us can give someone.
100%. I always say that presence and being there and a listening ear is so much more. I could do no interventions in terms of supplementation, herbal medicine, and just give them someone to talk to, feel supported, and like I'm on their side, and the needle will already shift. It's a huge, powerful thing that I think people underestimate, and people aren't active listeners. Like, they say that they're listening to their clients, but are you actually listening, or are you thinking of your next question? Because people can always tell if you're actually like taking in what they're doing. And it's so funny. My when I was at uni, my supervisor was like, "You're not taking any notes. Like, you're not doing. Like, you're just sitting and listening." And I go, "Yeah, because after they leave, I'll write down my notes because I fully want to be immersed in their like slight body changes. What are they doing? Are they crossing their hands? Are they looking down? Are they open? All those things tell a story to me, and I want to be there to be able to absorb it. The notes can wait because I've got it in my brain, and because I've fully listened, I understand what I'm writing. Where most practitioners or GPs will be tap, tap, tap. Oh, yeah, so what's happening? Tap, tap, tap. And then you open up, you don't want to share because you're like, you're not giving me the time.
So true. That's so true. Yeah, I'm a bit the same with you. I'm not really a note taker. I tend to rely sometimes on my not so good memory, but just get the cues, all the cues that are going on, because I think that gives us so much more information, all the subtleties that we can like learn to tap into.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really important thing. How would a typical session look for you? How long do you work with someone for?
Yeah, so what would happen is I will do an initial appointment. So that ranges from 60 to 90 minutes. And this is a full rundown of your health history. So I literally will ask you from your nervous system, digestive health, liver health, all the way through to reproductive and everything, what you eat, how you're feeling emotionally, how much screen time you're doing, literally your whole sort of being, I ask about. I take little like signs and symptoms and things from there. If I feel like that person needs an energetic lens, I'll lean my consultations that way. If the person's more tangible, quantified, give me the facts and figures, I'll lean it that way. It really depends on the person that's in front of me. From there, I'll get them to send any functional markers, so any blood markers, any tests. scans because I like to weave the 2 in. It's really important balance of both because that the data tells me and the energy tells me another story that's deeper, and then I health plan depending on what is presented that I can sit with the client and run through, and then they do that program for like 6 to 8 weeks and then come back for follow-ups, and this is where I can really shift the needle depending on how they're feeling, what's going on, and then we layer deeper within that energetic component once that trust is formed, they're seeing some slight changes, all of that sort of stuff, and then we just continue on as much as they need until we've ticked off their main health objectives and they feel good.
Yeah, awesome. Do you have any particular client stories that stand out to you? Anything you want to share just for inspiration?
I've actually had really amazing results with my clients. Lots of like clients that have gone through multiple specialists. Like they're like a lot of IVF clients that have been told they've had like lots of surgeries. They've been on like multiple rounds of IVF, lots of that sort of thing. And then I'll be like, oh, well, have you tested for autoimmunity? Have you done that? And then we'll test for that. It comes up. We'll sort that out, and then they'll be pregnant. My client yesterday, actually, I did a follow up with her, and she's shows me her 6-month son, and she's like, I can't believe like we're here, like, and it's just so rewarding. And then I have another client that I'm helping that was really gaslit through the medical system and just chucked on the pill, and she was going through a lot of stuff. She's got something called POI, which is primary ovarian insufficiency. So it means that your eggs have depleted. And she was just feeling really low and not herself. And we've done a lot of mind body connection. She's also got a thyroid concern, and she's getting an egg donor and doing an IVF transfer. So I'm supporting her body through that process. But she has said as well, like, even everything that we've done, because she's had 9 pregnancy losses and like a lot of history there, she said, I feel the best I've ever felt. I'm connecting with my husband again. I'm connecting with myself. I feel happy, energetic, all of that really nice stuff. And I just think that is just such a rewarding space to be in. And so she's really looking forward to this next time. And then, yeah, just some crazy results, which are really cool.
It's so rewarding, and I'm sure it's because you're holding your clients through their process as well, that they see
Yeah.
seen and heard.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would love to chat about or delve into?
What have we not covered? Maybe like limiting beliefs, maybe like people's like self belief. Maybe we should talk to more about like how you can rewire your brain and change your thought pattern. And I think that's such a big tangible thing people can start doing at home, and it doesn't cost money. And it's just about putting in the time and the attention to yourself, you know?
Mhm. Well, let's start with actually, like, what a limiting belief is, because sometimes people are like, "This is the way I am." So a limiting
Yeah.
belief, essentially, it's just if you think about what you want and who you wanna become, and then you also, at the same time, think about all these "I am" statements or "I believe." So, I am not a confident person. I am not a smart person. These are all beliefs that we have about ourself and our identity that don't match up with and support the person we want to become. So it's almost like you're carrying around a whole lot of rocks and you're trying to get to your destination, but these beliefs are holding you back.
Yeah.
So the first thing is always starting to question and just having that curiosity of like, what do I believe about myself? Because often beliefs show up as fact. Therefore, we're not even aware we have a belief. And we're going to always be working through limiting beliefs. We'll move one and then something else will come in and we'll catch it and be like, oh man, where did this come from? Even having that awareness when you're working with your clients, what beliefs do you see frequently that hold people back?
See a lot of like things that have happened when they're a child. So take someone that thinks they're shy or they're not confident. The shy one is such a big one. Like I've had so many clients being like, "Oh, everyone just labeled me as shy, or she's just so shy. She's shy, shy, shy." And I notice it even with my own daughter. People will be like, "Oh, she's quite shy, isn't she?" Or like they will put that label without even knowing her. And I reframe it, be like, she just needs to take some time. Like you don't need to label anybody, but that label gets carried through and people won't go for their promotion. They won't put themselves out there because they're like, oh, I could never do that because I'm too shy. And that's just been conditioned into them. And so I really see that label a lot with females is the whole shy card. And like even like if you're not the loud, confident one, actually explaining and rewiring like you don't have to be that loud voice. There's an inner knowing of observing the room, taking it all in, understanding what's going on, and then presenting yourself. Like there's so many different variables to that, but it's this that whole society's notion that if someone's loud and that they're confident, but if someone's inwards, they're shy, and you carry that label forever. Like it's really hard to sort of get rid of. But I think that if you are a parent and you work with your children and you don't label your children and you stop other people from doing it, it will change the narrative. But then also being gentle with yourself when you start to say, "Oh, I've got anxiety," or like those labels, rather just being like, "I'm feeling anxious in this moment," and just having it for that one moment, it speaks so much power, and it's so good at like actually getting out of that.
Yeah.
It's in that pattern.
Completely. It just opens up a whole window of choices and opportunities that you once haven't seen.
Yeah,
So much of my work and my clients recovering from years of illnesses starts with identity work and belief work.
yeah,
Because if we are drilling in, and you got to think of our self talk, we have the same thoughts day in, day out. So if you're constantly saying, I'm not a confident person, or that's that person, that's not me, and consistently repeating that, that neural pathway becomes wired.
yeah,
Your reticular activating system or your filtering system starts to find all this evidence to back it up.
yeah,
So simply like grabbing that and being like, what could be more supportive and useful for me to start to look for evidence or start to get curious about instead. You don't have to fully believe it yet, but it could be like, I am learning that I can speak when I feel comfortable. And
yeah,
that itself is a shift because, like you said, so much of our limiting beliefs just comes from our younger years and not even often from a bad place. It's not
yeah.
like we were enforced these beliefs, it's just the nature of growing up, being a sponge, um, figuring out your way through life and then holding on to all of these bits of outdated information.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And it's just like people don't believe it works because it's so easy to implement. It's almost too good to be true, you know what I mean? Like people are like, "Oh, I don't believe you just tell yourself this." But the body is literally just a filter system. It is just absorbing information, making a calculated like decision and then acting upon it. So if we're feeding ourselves this constant reminder, just as negative does with positive, you'll get that outcome that you're looking for.
Yeah, and I recommend it's like something tangible might even be just to start to on your notes on your phone or writing down like what am I consistently saying to myself that is limiting me? Because chances are behind that there will be a strong belief like I am a procrastinator, I am shy, and it's starting to catch them and just starting to question them. And look, it happens to me all the time. I know my limiting beliefs, but once you start to work through them, uh, again, it just creates a lot more freedom in your life because you're not shutting down opportunities as soon as they come into your field. You're starting to question, is that the old me or is that who I want to become?
Yeah, it's just about being curious, us starting to ask the questions and being curious, I think, is the first step.
Absolutely. It just takes awareness and it's not always a comfortable process.
No, definitely not.
Because as you said, when we start to question things that we just thought that was fact or that's how I've been taught, and you're not yet on the other side and really confident in who you are, it can feel quite scary. Like, what if I do change? And that's all part of the process.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Is there any specific process that you take people through with beliefs, or is it just starting to open up that dialogue and get people thinking?
I just open up the dialogue and I really see what they're comfortable in doing. But a lot of the time, I'll say, like, to start with, writing a message on your mirror that you'll see constantly. What's something that you want to possess or want to change or something? And starting with just one liners and just starting with that. Um, and then, like, even like if there's like a connection, I had one client that felt like she had a disconnect with her daughter and she couldn't connect properly. So I started getting her to write just little love notes for her daughter and putting it on her pillow, and then her daughter started doing it back to her, and it's like the thing that they now share. Like, there's so much power in handwritten notes or letters to yourself or being able to, like, express yourself. So I really start with that because I think that's really an easy, tangible thing that you can do, but it makes such a big impact.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing. Cool. So, where can people find you if they are really resonating with what you're saying? Because I know you're based in Amsterdam at the moment. I think you're working with clients online back in New Zealand and overseas.
Yeah, so I have clients all over the world. I operate via telehealth, so all my appointments are online. Um, and you can just find me at caitlin.therese.naturopath, and then I have a booking link, or you can DM me for an appointment time.
Awesome. Thank you, Caitlin. I'll put all your details in the show notes so people can get in touch. I've really loved this conversation. It's so refreshing to just find people that get it. And that's what I love about this podcast. I'm having like really interesting conversations with people that I probably wouldn't have connected with otherwise. So I really appreciate you sharing your wisdom and also really standing strong in your beliefs, because I think that's what's needed in today's day and age.
Yeah, and I always speak to, like, if you're your authentic self as a practitioner, then the people that are meant to find you will find you because you're showing up as yourself. So
Mm.
to walk the talk and be who I am and express my journey and what I've been through so that I can connect with people and help people, because that is why I do what I do.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Caitlin. And thank you guys all for tuning in today. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Cool, thank you. Bye.